Welcome back. So, in this session, what we'll be looking at is the June 2008, yes, we're going all the way back, so 2008 CSEC HSB Paper 1. So, as we go along, we'll do some explaining where I think necessary. So, let's begin. So, question 1. Which of the following features is not common to all living organisms? The answer would be C, producing identical cells in reproduction. Not all organisms can undergo the process of mitosis to make their young ones. So, as we know, we have mitosis and we have meiosis. Mitosis ensures identical cells are formed, whereas meiosis allows for genetic variation to take place. This is where we would get unique organisms and not all unique cells. Number 2. The slightly viscous substance consisting mainly of water and found immediately inside cell membranes is A. Cytoplasm. 3. Which of the following characteristics of living organisms may be observed by an increase in size? Growth. D. Number 4. A group of cells which specialize to perform the same function is called a tissue. So if you remember cellular organization, you have cells grouped together, well, similar function cells grouped together to form tissue. Tissue forms organs. Organs eventually lead to organ systems, and organ systems lead to the formation of the organism. Items 5 to 7 refers to the following drawing of a plant cell. So I'm not writing at the edge here, I'll just circle it as I'm reading. So match each organelle below with one of the options above, each of which may be used more than once, or not at all. So number 5, which is the chloroplast, that would be C. 6, cytoplasm, that is going to be D, and mitochondrion, that is going to be B. Item 8 refers to the following diagram, which shows a specialized cell of the human body. So which cell is shown in the diagram? The answer would be D. This is a sperm cell. So far, nothing too hard. Then we have number 9. So which of the following is the correct sequence in the building process of the body? Number 9 is C. So as I had just said, cells to tissue, tissues to organ, organs to organ systems. Then we have item 10 refers to the following diagram, which shows an experiment to investigate osmosis. So you have a beaker, you have sugar in a potato, and then you have the water. So number 10. Which statement best describes what will be observed after a few hours? The answer is B. The sugar particles will dissolve. This is because water, through the process of osmosis, will move from where there is a higher concentration to where there is a lower concentration. So you have the water, which is in the beaker, then the potato, you have the sugar inside here. So there's a lower concentration here, thus the water will move through the potato cells to get to this cave part where you have the sugar. Thus, based on what they have as the options, the sugar will dissolve. Then, number 11, substances are transported through the walls of cells utilizing energy from ATP. This process is called C, active transport. Active transport is the only one out of the 3 that you would have learned. So you had diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Active transport goes against the concentration gradient, thus going from where there is from where there is less to where there is more. Then you have number 12. Which joint is found at the knee in human beings? We know that this is D. So the knee, you have a hinge joint, and you also have a hinge joint found at the elbow. Number 13, an example of a voluntary action is D, turning on a light switch. Knee jerking, eye blinking, and dropping a hot knife, all of those are involuntary. Number 14, the human circulatory system transports B, nutrients, nitrogenous waste, and oxygen. If we were to look at A, what would set it off is starch. For C, what will set it off is glycogen. And then for D, what will make it wrong is fiber. Then we have number 15. So which group of muscles is responsible for the flexion of the upper arm? That answer is E, biceps. So when you're flexing is when you're showing off your muscle. That will be the muscle to the top, which is the bicep. You have 16. Which of the following statements best describes the function of the iris? Your answer would be B. It controls the amount of light entering the eye. So it when it comes to the others, like C, for example, it prevents the internal reflection of the eye. That is wrong. D refracts the greatest amount of light. That is wrong. Or it wouldn't fit the description of what they're asking for. D alters the shape of the lens. Not D, sorry, A alters the shape of the lens. No. So the answer would be B. Then we have 17. To view a near object, the shape of the lens is changed when the A, your ciliary muscles contract. Then we have 18. So which sequence shows the path taken by air moving into the lungs? That answer would be B. So the air comes down the trachea, then to the bronchi, into the bronchioles, and then you have those pores at the end, which is the alveoli. Number 19, in the blood clotting mechanism, fibrinogen will change to fibrin in the presence of thrombin. So the answer is D. 20, the energy released in respiration is in the form of C, ATP. 21. One of the most likely causes of coronary heart disease is A, increased intake of animal fat. 22. Oxygen passes from the air sacs to the blood capillaries by the process of C. This is the process of diffusion, movement of gases from where there's more to less. 23. Which forms of cancer are most likely associated with cigarette smoking? Breast cancer, prostate cancer, cancer of the throat, cancer of the larynx. If you are talking about cigarette smoking, we are talking about the respiratory system. Thus, the answer will be 3 and 4, which is D. Number 24. Which row in the table correctly matches the substance to its simplest form? The answer is C. So you have glucose. So starch breaks down to glucose because starch is stored glucose. Proteins break down to amino acids, and fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Oops, my bad. So number 25. Which of the following teeth aid in grinding food into smaller pieces? The answer would be B. Our molars and premolars. Number 26. Which of the following vitamins prevents night blindness? That would be A. Vitamin A. Number 27. Which type of tooth would be found in an adult human but absent for a young child? The answer would be D. Molars. 28. Which of the following substances can be added to drinking water to reduce tooth decay? The answer would be A. Fluoride. Number 29. A student carries out the following tests. So after 10 minutes, which test tube would give a positive reaction with the burette test? So this one required a bit more thinking than the 28 questions that we just did. So what you have to take into consideration with this, first you need to remember your food tests. So the burette test is a test that is going to verify the presence of proteins. So you have pepsin in all of them, but tube 3, you have boiled pepsin. What is pepsin? Pepsin is one of the enzymes, and pepsin, if you could recall, is found in the stomach. All of them, you have 1% HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. This is necessary because pepsin, as I just said, is found in the stomach. In the stomach, you have hydrochloric acid. And then where you are going to get the protein from is the egg albumin. So automatically, that takes out number 2. So anything with number 2 in it is wrong, because you can't get a positive burette test if there is no protein. So automatically, we take off C. So it is between 1 and 3. Now let's break this down. We want a positive test for proteins. If it is we want proteins, remember that pepsin is a protease. Protease meaning that it breaks down proteins into amino acids, right? So it starts breaking it down into shorter polypeptides. So what that means is, in this one, we're not going to have proteins, but in fact, they said 10 minutes, so we're assuming by that time, this 2 cm cubes of egg albumin will be broken down completely into shorter polypeptide chains. This one here, you have boiled pepsin. Now, if you could recall, with enzymes are very particular, meaning that they work best at a particular temperature. Because they have their optimum temperature, they also have their optimum pH. So if we boil pepsin, pepsin will become denatured, meaning that it would not be functional, or it would not be able to break down the protein in the egg albumin into shorter polypeptide chains. So in fact, what we are going to get in this test tube is a positive burette test, because the boiled pepsin made it denatured and not able to break down the protein. So test tube 3 is going to have protein. So you have to do a little more thinking for that one. Then we have 30. So which of the following best describes the function of the liver? And that would be D, secretion of pancreatic juice. So you have the storage of bile. Bile is stored, I'm sorry, not D, my bad. The production of bile, why would I say D, my bad, right? So it does not store bile. Bile is stored in the gallbladder. It doesn't transport bile to the duodenum, that is the bile duct, and it definitely does not secrete pancreatic juices. Pancreatic juices, that is a pancreas, right? So then we have 31. During the process of digestion, bile salts aid in the process of D, which is emulsification, breaking down large fat globules into smaller ones. 32. Which of the following activities occurs when a marathon runner consumes too little water? The answer is A. So more ADH will be secreted. With more ADH being secreted, that means in terms of osmoregulation, more water is going to be reabsorbed along the nephron. Then we have 33. Which of the following best describes how body temperature is regulated on a hot day? So 1, blood vessels in the skin dilate. 2, blood vessels in the skin constrict. Number 3, hair on the skin stands up. Or 4, sweating occurs. So the answer for number 33 is B, 1 and 4. So the blood vessels in the skin dilates and sweating occurs. Number 34, fertilization occurs in the oviduct when D, the sperm fuses with the ovum. Number 35, sexual reproduction is best defined as D, the fusion, sorry, not D, my bad, the fusion of gametes. So please remember that it is fusion and not fission, right? If you mix up these two words, you could get it incorrect. Then we have 36. The menstrual cycle begins. When does it begin? Could you recall? C. When the breakdown, with the breakdown of the uterine line. Sorry, uterine wall. Item 37 refers to the following diagram, which shows the human male reproductive system. So again, just as a question like this before, I will be circling, not writing it on the side. So 37, in which structure are spermatozoa produced? It is D. You should recognize this as being the testes. 38. Which row shown in the table below represents the chromosome number in the male and female gametes produced during meiosis? Remember, the process of meiosis halves the chromosome number, so we go from a diploid cell to a haploid cell. Human beings have 46 chromosomes in total in all somatic cells. Therefore, in our sex cells, we have half of that, which is 23. So the answer would be B. 39. During asexual reproduction, an organism produces new organisms that are identical to the parent. Which process occurs when the new organisms are produced? That would be mitosis. Mitosis allows for asexual reproduction to occur. Meiosis is sexual reproduction. 40. Chromosomes are made up of protein and A, DNA. So then we have 41. Which of the following diseases is an example of a nutritional deficiency disease? The answer is C. 42. By which method or methods is gonorrhea transmitted? 1. Drinking contaminated water. 2. Breathing in air droplets. 3. Sexual contact. Or 4. Mosquito bites. The answer is B. Sexual contact. 43. Which of the following organisms is the causative agent of cholera? Cholera is caused by a bacterium. Number 44. One of the best indicators of a person suffering from AIDS virus is C, rapid weight loss. Number 45. Which of the following chemicals is most effective in sanitizing a kitchen counter? The answer would be A, disinfectant. Most of the questions that we are seeing so far is kind of a given, right? Only a few we had to put a lot of thought, or not a lot, but a bit of thought into. So item 46 to 47 refers to the following options. So A, using antiseptics, B, using disinfectants, C, lubricating, and D, autoclaving. So match each item below with one of the methods above, each of which may be used once, more than once, or not at all. So number 46, application to a bruise on the skin. The answer would be A, using antiseptics. And 47, sanitizing hospital floors. The answer would be B, using disinfectants. Oops. Then we have 48. So in relation to the transmission of cholera, the housefly is referred to as the vector. So remember, vector is an insect in most cases that transmits the parasite or the pathogen that causes the bacteria. Not the bacteria, causes the disease. Right? So a vector is not affected by the disease, they just basically the transport system. So items 49 to 50 refer to the following diagram showing the life cycle of the housefly. So 49, at which stage would insecticide be most effective? That would be A at the adult stage. And 50, which stage is prevented by keeping household refuse properly disposed? That would be B, because they wouldn't have anywhere to lay their eggs. Sorry. So then we have 51. What type of immunity is acquired when antibiotics are produced by a vaccine? The answer is C, artificial active acquired. 52. In large-scale water purification, the formation of acid which destroys organisms is achieved by the process of D, chlorination. 53. In the water cycle, water enters the atmosphere by 1. Respiration from animals, 2. Transpiration from plants, 3. Precipitation from clouds, or 4. Evaporation from rivers and lakes. The answer would be everything except anything that has 3 in it. So number 53, the answer would be C. So now we have number 54. Scroll down a bit. So pollution is best described as D, contamination of land, water, and air by harmful substances. 55. The most harmful effect on man due to the improper disposal of refuse is A, exposure to pathogens. We're almost to the end. 56. Recycling may best be defined as, and when you say best, it is really important to read through and try to figure out which one is actually the best definition for whatever term they are looking for. So for number 56, the best would be C, collecting and repurposing a resource into new products. 57. Which of the following would not cause water pollution? C. Carbon monoxide. 58. What is the importance of the screen in a pit latrine? The answer is B. Prevention of flies from entering. And last two. 59. A pit latrine is best sited, could you guess, on sandy soil. And last but not least, number 60. Which of the following is considered biodegradable? The answer would be